How about that A.L.A. trucking? You got the radio on in there.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I guess we can't fool the viewers. We're familiar with each other from the old Facebook, and it's April, right after the 2016 Mid-America Trucking Show, and we're just doing some tooling around, so thanks for getting a truck out on the highway, Doc, so we can get a good look at it and get to know you a little better.
Hey, you're welcome, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor to get out here and work with you for a bit.
Well, let's start off with what you're running there.
Well, it's a 2006 Pete 379, got 550 cat, 13 speed, 355s. It's owned by Alan and Louis Adams out of Anderson, Indiana, A.L.A. Trucking. I'm just a driver, but he bought it pretty much dressed out like it is. We add some to it here and there, and we're still adding to it. You know, it's kind of an ongoing project with me.
Well, yeah, I understand that. How does it do for you, fuel mileage-wise?
Well, probably 5.5. You know, a lot of them get a lot better, but about 5.5, maybe 6 on a good day.
What do you do with it?
Well, we run all 48 states. We got some trucks, you know, kind of run regional, but I run pretty much wherever they want me to go. There's a few of us that do that, and I like running that Pacific Northwest a lot. I get up there and come back out this way and do it again.
What are you normally carrying?
I'll be honest with you, if it fits, it ships. That's the way we look at it. You know, we'll haul just about anything that pays right. It's got to pay right. If it does, it gets on the wagon.
Now, you said you like to run the Northwest. Why? Why do you like to go out that way?
Well, it's beautiful up there. You know, it's always been my favorite part of the country. And we live up there in western Montana now, and that gets me, you know, by the house every once in a while. But it's always been my preferred place to run. And it don't matter to me if it's winter or summer. You know, it's a lot more work up there in the winter time. But well, I look at it, that's part of it. I'll just get her done.
Out of all the other places, you mentioned you get up to the house, you know, going out that way. You guys live in Montana. Where are some of the other places that you enjoy going?
Well, I like in the wintertime, you know, I do like a break from the old cold weather. I like running Arizona, Phoenix area. I'm not going to brag much on California. There's good people out there. I got friends out there, but I don't care if I go out there or not. But I like the weather in Arizona, and I like Florida down there in your part of the neck of the woods, you know.
How long you been running for?
Well, I've been doing this 28 years now. It doesn't seem like it, but I guess I'm telling my age, but it sure has been 28 years.
I'm sure over those 28 years you've amassed a whole lot of experience and maybe even some stories and whatnot. What are some things that you would share with a guy who is fresh out of school and wanting to get on the road and just start trucking in general? What are some of the things that they're going to run up against?
Well, to be honest with you, Chris, when you ask that, the first thing I want to talk about CB radios. I call this truck radioactive, and the reason being I'm a big advocate, you know, on using this CB radio. I'm just disappointed the way it's kind of tossed aside nowadays. It's a tool to me, just like a carpenter, electrician, a plumber. You know, got to have that tool to get the job done right. And that radio is a tool. That's the reason there's so many of these truck crashes. I think out here, guys not getting that heads up because they don't have a radio. We're all riding around here paying attention, you know what we're doing, but that heads up's always nice, especially if it's traffic stopped over a hill or something. You know, you got to have that communication with your buddies.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yes, there's been a handful of major accidents that have happened that they didn't turn out too well. The way that technology is now, it's so easy to use another means of communication as opposed to just picking up the old two-way.
Yeah, that's it, buddy. That's the worst thing about this job, that old lonesome factor. You know, it's kind of gone nowadays because of the phone and everything, Facebook and all that stuff. I'm a big fan of all that, but it's not part of my job. You know, that radio is part of my job, communicating with these other trucks, getting down the road safely. You can get down the road, but you can't get down the road 100% safely unless you're communicating with each other in my books.
10-4. Who do you got in that seat next to you?
Well, that's my better half, Rita, or Lady Doc. I call her that. She likes it, so that's what she goes by.
I'm going to put Lady Doc there on the spot and ask her a question. Being out here on the road with Doc and the length of time that he's been gone for, what are some of the things that you've experienced that you really hadn't experienced before until you come on the road?
I see it in different places in the country and doing a lot of different things out here. It's a different life, different place every day.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of guys, they do get to sightsee, being a paid tourist. That's always nice. What are some of the things that some people may take for granted? You're not making any 5-course meals in the truck there. What are some of the things that you have to do differently?
Oh, everything's different out here. Bathrooms, showers, everything. You know, fast food's not one of my favorites, but, you know, sometimes that's all we got to eat.
Have you come up with any ways to kind of supplement not having the best choices in meals?
Doc eats these Fruit Loops and milk. I do, you know, a lot of health food, turkey sandwiches, stuff like that, or salads or something like that. Because I don't cook in the truck because it's kind of messy.
Well, I understand that.
Something I'd like to say to all the ladies out there, if you're at home, you guys haven't been out here, it's a rougher life than what you realize. And cook you guys a meal when they get home. Kind of baby them a little bit, and then you might get that in return. And for the ladies out here, you guys are doing an awesome job. And I've been a driver and I've been a trucker's wife, and both lives are a lot different. And when I learned how to drive a truck and get out here, it's altogether different than what you ladies realize. So my hat's off to you at home, and to the ladies out here, my hat's off to you too. You guys keep up the good work on both ends.
Well, that's great. I'm sure a lot of the ladies will appreciate hearing that.
It's one of the many reasons I'm so proud of that little woman right there on my right.
I'm going to go back over to Doc. Now, we were talking just a little bit about some of the things that you'd share with some folks, if some drivers, if they're new to the road. Aside from the communication factor, with some of the things that are changing up with regulations and the way that we have to handle driving, what are some of the things that you want to, tell a guy who might think it's just easy to climb up in the truck, turn the key, and go?
Well, I guess to start off with, Chris, I'd like to tell them, not to take the ribbon and the kids in so personal. There's a lot of that out here. We do it with each other, and we do it with the newbies, and they really need to pay attention to the old-timers, talk to them every chance you get. If they're chewing you out for something, listen to it. They're doing it for a reason. I know it's partly our own fault, some of these young guys won't listen to us. We get carried away ribbing them and stuff, but I try not to get carried away myself. But you gotta listen to them, and what they're telling you about the winter driving and the radio use. Mainly listen to them about that. And I think the E-log thing is going to come around, eventually. It looks like in a couple of years. So get out here and don't trash around. Don't waste your time. Make the best out of your 11 hours. Make the most out of it. You get out here and you got a job to do. Close that door and get it done. You can't be stopping, hanging around these truck stops and hanging around the TV room. Something else that kind of one of my pet peeves, we need to be slowing these things down in these parking lots. It don't have to be, truck stops, a shipper, receiver, wherever you have these big old trucks. You need to be driving like you got some common sense. Not be flying through them parking lots. There's too many pedestrians and too many other trucks moving around. And when you bump a truck and if something happens, you bump a truck in a parking lot, it shouldn't be no $20,000 accident. And that happens way too often too. And not to mention some of these pedestrians getting killed in these parking lots around the country just because somebody's driving too fast through there.
Now, on the topic of parking lots and what's going on in some of the truck stops there, it seemed like almost every week a friend of mine was getting a hood taken off or a fender smashed and whatnot. Is it so difficult to ask a guy to spot, to back in? What do you see is the problem with some of these younger guys not wanting any help that way?
Well, it all boils around that being in too big of a hurry. When they come in off the street driving too fast, everything they do in that truck stop's based on being in too big of a hurry. It just don't work in this line of work. Take your time backing in them spots. They're all tight anymore. And don't be too proud to get out and ask somebody to help you. I do it. Rita will tell you I do it. And get out and look. If there's nobody to help you, get out and look. I get out of this truck 6-8 times sometimes before I get back in the hole. Either a truck stop or a shipper, either one. Get out and walk around there and look. Don't just look from the mirror. But that being in a big hurry all the time is the worst thing, Chris. That's really everything we're talking about boils around that, these truck stops.
Now, let's talk about what's going on beside you and as you crisscross around the country. I like to ask a lot of guys about safety aspects of things and what they can share with some other four-wheelers or motorists. If somebody, you ran into them at the truck stop and they took a liking to your truck and you got to talking and you wanted to tell them something about being safe around you, what would you tell them straight away?
Well, that cutting us off, and slamming on the brakes in front of us or waiting until the last minute to cut across and take an exit from the far left lane, any of that stuff's dangerous around us, and some of the four-wheelers have a hard time understanding that because certain things we do ourselves, we're asking them not to do. Like we take up 2 lanes, we need 2 lanes sometimes, to make a turn or whatever. And we turn that blinker on, need to get an exit, we do it plenty of time. It may be a half a mile to that exit down there. We got that right blinker on, they won't let us over. And we get to that point where we see enough room, we got to get over. I've had you, been warning you all down through there. So that's not really cutting you off in my opinion, but four-wheelers see that and they think, well, that's the way they want it, they'll get up there and cut them off. And we got 80,000 pounds on our back, it's not even, it's not a fair fight. I don't want it to be a fight. Personally, I was like, we all get along out here, and share the road safely. And at the same time, some of this stuff that these newbies are doing that they shouldn't be doing is we're all paying for it, There's a lot of tailgating by trucks out here, but it's guys that don't have experience, they haven't had that bad one yet, and when they do, they're going to learn the hard way. But I don't like tailgating from big trucks or four-wheelers, it's just all dangerous out here. You got to treat this like it is. It can be safe if everybody will drive that way, respect each other, and share the road.
Now, Doc, you said you've been out here 28 years. I'm sure you might have a story or two that might be interesting. I'll give you a few minutes to see if you can't come up with something.
Yeah, I'll think it over, Chris. I know I miss the first part, the first few years I drove. A lot of the old timers are still out here, back in the old school days. I sure miss running with them. There's a lot of good times running back and forth. I've done a lot of, probably 10 years there, California and back to Oklahoma City, hauling chickens out, produce back. I miss that a lot about, a few years ago having the old timers out.
Paint a picture of what it was like back then when you were driving out there, coming from this way headed out to California and back.
Well, it might cause me to incriminate myself, but I used to run pretty hard back then. And had some fast trucks, them old chickens are usually hot loads going out. We used to get out there and get it done pretty good. Old timers get you out there and back.
All right, you're going to have to break some of that down. You kind of speak it pretty cryptically there. So, you got some hot loads, you got some chickens, and you're moving fast with some old-timers. What are you talking about there?
Well, them loads, they just got to get on out there with them. They don't have enough time to run it at 11 hours or whatever. You got to know how to get it out there safely, though. I never was one that needs as much rest as I'm required to take, but usually coming back, sometimes the produce loads were just as hot. It takes forever to get loaded out there, make 4 or 5 pickups, and the delivery time's still the same. And even though it's easy to say just have them reschedule it, they got a way of punishing you. These receivers do, not the boss, but the receivers. They'll make you sit there 2 or 3 days, if you ain't on time.
Even back then, you were dealing with stuff like that as far as the receivers trying to pull a fast one on you?
Oh, yeah, I think it was worse back then. That's why everybody knew how to get it done back then. It's let up some. It's still, rough nowadays here and there, but back then, everybody could pretty much get it done, and it was expected. But, everybody's trying to run legal nowadays. You ain't got no choice. You can't get away with doing it like we used to. Points and all them fines and everything, it's too easy to get caught nowadays. They know what they're doing, with that CBSA score and all that. They intend to make us do it right, whether we want to or not, and they know how to make us do it right. So, but there's still them hot loads that's got to go. I don't know when that E-log comes in or whatever, it's going to be tough on getting the job done. There's not enough people out here that want to run team.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change. It's going to be way too interesting, and a lot of guys tell me that, they're going to be done pretty soon with driving as a whole.
Yeah, working over here, this people I work for, they run legal, I've always got plenty of time. We don't get carried away out here anymore. I'm too old anyway.
Well, Doc, I think I know what I want to ask you. that some guys have asked me before and wanted me to incorporate into the interviews. And it has to do with the CB radio. We were talking about that earlier. And some guys want to know what's the best CB setup to get for a truck. Do you got anything that you can share regarding that?
Well, I like the Galaxies and the Connexes there, Chris. Connex probably my favorite. I've been tempted to try a Striker. I know they're good radios. All three of those are good as far as I'm concerned. But if a guy don't want to spend that kind of money and just wants a good working radio, the Cobra's always been good. It's always top of the line in my books. Just for a good affordable tool, you know. There's nothing better than a basic Cobra.
10-4. So what are you talking on right now then?
That's the Galaxy right now. It's the little one, you know, the 959. It's the basic Galaxy, you know. It's probably, I'd say, equivalent to a Cobra radio. It's not a big radio, but it's a good radio. And I guess I'm telling you that. You can probably tell me whether it's working all right or not.
No, you sound crystal clear.
Yeah, you're sounding good on this end.
Over the course of time that you've been driving, the 28 years there, what other types of equipment did you pull?
Well, I grew up around the end dumps. You know, that's what my family's always done. My grandparents started in 1929 hauling sand, gravel, you know, construction materials, and my dad grew up in that, and that's what I started out doing. Pulling the end dump, you know, around Oklahoma there. I got a wild hair and wanted the long haul, so that's what I started way back in '87, long hauling. But end up and done some flatbed, you know, over the road. It's reefer or dry van or flatbed's about all I've pulled, you know, long hauling. Say I've always had a tug of war between end dumping and long hauling because, you know, my roots beginning to end dumping. I love it. I love running local, running with my friends every day, all day. But I just can't help the fact that I miss this long hauling at some point, and I do it. I get back out here and I stay for, you know, usually several years at a time. And I think I'll start missing being home again, and I'll give it a shot. But it's just back and forth, you know. It takes a few years for each one.
Some guys, they want to stay in one thing and never switch, but if you have the luxury or have the ability, I should say, if you have the ability to switch into that back and forth, then, you know, enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it, and the end up, you know, is a blessing, I'll say, you know, having that in my background, because a lot of guys want to come off the road and be home every night, and they're pretty much limited on what kind of jobs they're going to get driving a big truck, you know. But at end up, you can always, in fact, the end up around Oklahoma there is a good place to find a real truck, you know. That's where they usually all wind up. They bring them off the road, you know, and put them under an end up or something local, keep them close to the house. And if it was up to me, that's the truck, you know, I'd drive, I'd long haul and the oldest thing I can get a hold of, be heavy.
Oh, well, that's one thing that I didn't really hear just yet. You know, some guys, we hear suggestions on how to get started in the business, and some people will say to, you know, buy a truck if that's used, so you don't have to worry about a high payment. But no one said really, you know, where to look or how to determine if a truck is a good truck. So that's a pretty good tip.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, also, you know, a common thing to hear, you know, you don't want an old truck because it'll nickel and dime you to death. Well, if you're driving it yourself, you know, and just got the one truck, I mean, it's doable. And I got a lot of friends running old equipment. Now, a guy wanting to run 20 old trucks, you know, it may hurt him pretty bad, you know, try to keep them all up in shape all the time, depending on the guy to take care of them for them. But you drive it and take care of it yourself, you know, these trucks will last forever in my books. And I want to also give credit to the drivers. You know, I know some drivers I call cream of the crop, and there's a bunch of them. If I owner finds a driver, you know, he can trust to take care of that old truck, and he can do okay with an old one with a driver in it. You just can't put anybody in it. That PTI, you know, pre-trip and that you do at the start and the end of your shift, you know, that's good, but they need to be watching their trucks every time they stop, you know, do a walk around, pay attention to your tires, them lug nuts between your wheels, you know, just keep an eye on your truck. Don't just check it and forget about it till tomorrow. It don't work. You're running these kind of miles, these rough old roads we're on, the weight we haul. Just keep an eye on that equipment. Just losing wheels and tires shouldn't happen either, you know, if a guy catches it before it happens.
I can agree with you right there. Everything gives an indicator before it fails or before anything happens to it. You just have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking the truck driving schools. I mean, they're good to have. The guys got to learn somewhere. Not everybody gets to grow up in them. So, but these newcomers, they get out here and they do exactly the way they're taught to do it. No extra, no less, you know. But there needs to be some extra, that common sense factor in there of, you know, keeping an eye on that truck. You know, you grow up around them. When I was 5 years old, I knew how to look at a tire, and they don't have that, you know, that ability. They wasn't around trucks when they were that age, but common sense, you know. That's what you want to do, just keep an eye on things, everything. There's no limit. Look at whatever you can see when you're out of that truck.
I agree with you. Well, Doc, I'm going to say thanks for coming out on the highway and sharing your wisdom with us and letting us get a look at the truck there. I appreciate that. And wherever you guys are going next, be safe, and we'll see you another way.
Well, you're welcome, Chris, and I want to thank you, too. I really appreciate it. I wanted to do this for a long time. I've been a long-time fan of yours, so is Rita. So it's really been an honor to do this today with you. I appreciate it.
You got it. Anytime.